It was 5 a.m. and the day was finally here. A solo trip that was planned for a week has arrived, and the thrill of excitement energized my entire morning. As the moon was shining on my path, the sun hasn't risen to its peak of glory yet. The streetlights carried my vision to the Greyhound station, and quickly the doors approaching, and I knew that this day would bring me great joy. But suddenly fear gripped my heart. Doubts stirred in my mind on if I should continue my destination and experience a great journey, or just abort the mission and return back home. Then I heard a voice whispering a biblical story that I read some years back. Joshua chapter 1. And in it, God said to Joshua, "I am with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous." And many times God said this to him, and many times I heard the same thing. And from there, Joshua got up with the Israelites and moved forward. And in the same way, in my seat of dilemma, after reading that story, I got up and I moved forward with my trip. An hour and a half later, and some people around me were sleeping, some were texting. And what caught my attention ahead of me was so fascinating. I seen this magnificent skyline of buildings. After passing farmland and apartment complex and subway stations, I knew I was close to happiness. And I just couldn't wait to just get off the bus. And I began to leap for joy, knowing that we have finally arrived. And just moments later, stepping off the bus, I had a smile so bright that it didn't even go back to its normal form. This was something that I planned and always wanted to do. And the presence, standing in the midst of these sky-rising buildings, the elegant architect, faces of different ethnicity, all was foreign to me. And as a stranger visiting the city, I had to remain calm. Thank God for Google Earth and Google Maps. I calculated the timing and expenses to keep safe before planning this trip. And I knew my first place was to visit the Willis Tower, one of the most tallest buildings in the Western Hemisphere. At 1,353 feet in the air, I stepped out on this ledge glass box extended out 4.3 feet called the Sky Deck. This feeling was horrifying, but the sighting was very beautiful. Next stop, the Hellenic Greek Museum. Archaeology, antiquity, portraits, the history and the present moment of modern Greece. This place was absolutely amazing. 3 floors of countless materials and artwork, timeless information from ancient Greece to our present time. It was incredible. Scrolling along downtown Chicago, I captured the moment of being by the Trump Tower, and I recognized some of the areas nearby where some popular movies were filmed. The next stop, Manillium Park, the Cloud Gate. Made up of 168 stainless steel plates welded together. Its highly polished exterior has no visible seams. I can't imagine how many people across the world came to see this iconic object. And according to the map, I knew that the Buckingham Foundation was nearby. And it was a decent view to see the atmosphere, to see Lake Michigan in the background and Chicago skylines. The next stop, the Lincoln Zoo. Uber came right in time, thank God. Passing the Navy Pier and the coastline of Lake Michigan, a ride so smooth and enjoyable. The driver earned his 5 stars. This place was like a maze, almost confusing. I almost got lost a few times, by the way, but I forget to mention that Chicago food was great. I had snacks here and there, but like a kid, I always considered them to be meals. 5:00 p.m. was slowly approaching, and it was time for me to head back home. Again, the Uber came in handy. Mapping out my route and viewing most of the areas I've seen, I was delighted that my trip was safe and fun. It was like, since I've been there, the problems of the past didn't even exist. I knew that taking this 12-hour trip was an exciting adventure, and although much could be explored if I was there for a long time, but yet I was content to see such an incredible place. Just 12 hours ago, I was anticipating for this successful trip, but thank God that I actually had the faith to move forward. Although it may not be much to others, but to me, a solo trip was a special privilege from God alone, even to face anxiety and attempt to return back home due to hearing kidnapping stories. But I decided to trust God like Joshua did over 3,000 years ago. And as I look out the window, seeing the sun settling in the south and the rainbow appeared above the clouds, I thank God and give him all the credit for this trip. It's already nighttime as I arrived here in Milwaukee, similar to how I left. My morning smile didn't leave my face as I begun to think about exploring another city. I chose not to tell anybody about this trip because I wanted this to just be between me and God alone. Just for us to enjoy our day together without the need to tell the world or engage in any conversation or texts with other people. Just a camera to film and take pics, and that was it. This trip reminded me of what Jesus did in Mark chapter 1 verse 35, where he left to go by himself and to pray in a solitary place. And although this place wasn't solitary, but getting up and go just to spend time with him was incredible. So don't fear the journey ahead. And if you do, just know that you will continually to go back to that place of comfort that keeps you enslaved in the same stagnant environment, and you won't move forward because you fear the future. Just as God said to Joshua, the same thing he said to me, and it will be the same thing that God is saying to you, that he will never leave you nor forsake you, to be strong and courageous. And one thing that I must add, do not fear the journey ahead.